Greetings and salutations to all you folks out there. Got a game for you today on Loki. It is a 1 versus 1 ladder match, and pay no mind to the rankings up in the corner because, like I always say, ladder rank is separate from global rank, so it may be a little bit deceptive depending on whether or not these guys have played a ton of ladder games. So Green Nymph and Moggers are the guys we're going to be watching here today. They have taken Cybran on the left-hand side and Aeon on the right-hand side, but before we jump into their early builds, there's one thing that I've got to ask you guys for. Actually, two things. One of them you already answered partially. I was asking for replays in the last cast, I believe it was. Yes, and you guys answered in a huge way. I've got several replays now right at my fingertips ready to go, but that does not mean you need to stop sending them. Please, if you play in or see any awesome games happening, shoot that replay over to me. Just attach the file to an email, to the email address in the description. That is the single best way to get them to me because the ones on the server side, just entering in the replay number, have a really bad habit of corrupting and or desyncing. So it is an unfortunate thing. The second thing that I need from you guys is Fire Beetle replays. I have a little editing project that I'm going to try to do over the holiday vacation time. I'm not going to say exactly what I am doing, but since it involves fire beetles, I'm sure you know to expect some kind of compilation series. So, Taquito, if you're watching this, or RK, or any of the other guys who specialize in beetle drops, beetle swarms, or any manner of beetle mayhem, please send me your fire beetle replays. I would be more than happy to put as many as I possibly can into the next video, and it would be very helpful if you give me a timestamp as to where it's happening in the video. Just put a little thing there. Hey, 7 minutes and 27 seconds is where the ACU death is. Huge help to me. Alrighty guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this now that I've rambled your ears off for a couple of minutes. This is kind of an interesting matchup because if there's one faction that has a chance of standing up against Aeon in the T1 phase, it is Cybran. And that is because of our lovely little unit, the Medusa. They are brutal versus the Auroras that are typically such a royal pain in the buttocks for any other faction to deal with. Additionally, the Mantis is the fastest tank and the Aurora is the slowest. So kiting is not going to work as well for Aeon versus a Cybran opponent. It still does work, but it's by a little bit narrower margin than it works versus UEF and Cybran. So Aeon's still going to have a T1 advantage, but not quite as much as it normally does. On the left-hand side, we do have a normal land-first build. Looks like we've got Mechs first, Hydro, and then whatever else after that. Interesting point of fact, there's lots of clumps of trees, so instead of shooting that engineer all the way up, you can get an early boost in power income by reclaiming a few clumps of trees over here. If you watch replays from any of the guys that ladder on this map, typically you will see them doing that. I will readily admit that I forget to do that myself quite often, but hey, it's out there as a piece of advice. Fits in the category of do as I say and not as I do. Which I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with by now after watching me play. Knowing is one thing and implementing is another. Okay, so we've got a couple of Auroras moving out. The handy dandy land scout tagging along with those. Obviously, if you have an Aurora, you definitely need a scout. Couple of moles coming out for intel for Green Nymph, and he is going for a second air factory, overbuilding power a little bit. We've got 8 P-gens. Technically only needs 7, especially if you pick up some extra power, but we do have a Hydro going down here as well. So Green Nymph is going to be overboard ever so slightly on his power situation, but you know that's not a terrible place to be at. Maybe he'll get out some T1 bombers. That would also work extremely well versus anything that Moggers can throw at him. Looks like entirely land going down for Moggers, and that is going to be a critical error, I feel. We're probably going to see that come back to haunt him as this game moves on. Aurora moving to the edge, which, you know, typically you would see maybe a T1 artillery or something moving into this position, but the Aurora does have a little extra reach. So I think if he parks right on the very, very tippy edge of the cliff face, he might be able to reach those engineers down there and eliminate that Hydro build. Well, nope, the Hydro is finished. Too late for that, but he can at least harass it. little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. Scout shooting across for Green Nymph. That will tag everything in that base, and I'm sure that once Nymph sees that there is literally no air over there, he's probably going to build a lot of bombers. Nope, there's an interceptor, but we do already have an early bomber out. That was a Mantis dying to the ASCU. That bomber's immediately going to head back, and I'm sure tag some of these engineers. There's the bombs, and kaboom! 3 engineers in one pass. That is not what you want to have happening in your base. Aurora is slightly damaged there. Probably an encounter with a hunter, but he did come out on top. And that bomber is going to continue its passes across the base. Took a little bit of damage, but it's up to 5 kills now. Mobile anti-air not quite ready to drop that thing. And let's see what we got. Still interceptors building down here. Not sure why he's still building interceptors when there is literally no air from red. But it is his own decision and he can do what he wants. T2 upgrade going down for Moggers on 359 power income. With some strategic pausing and a little bit of reclaim, which we do have an engineer here on tree duty, he could actually make that work without stalling, but that is a super early upgrade. I'm not sure how I feel about that. The ACU has such well-made gun upgrades. You would think this far forward, the double gun upgrade or even just the range upgrade to place those beautiful long-range overcharges would be the way to go. But he is going to go T2. Maybe we'll see a point defense creep. Not entirely sure. Looks like Green Nymph does have a T2 mass extractor already. Is he going for a second? Yes, he is. There's the upgrade ticker right there. Green Nymph up to 39 mass per tick income with a reasonably well-balanced eco. He has a little bit extra in storage, but hey, he could throw a couple engineers on that mechs upgrade and finish it no problemo whatsoever. Probably needs a couple more factories, though. And there's one going down up there. I was literally about to suggest putting some up in the corner because that will give him a base of operations on the north side since he can't cross units over the water, and it's a long trip from his factories around that edge. There's a factory going down in this expansion as well, so kudos there. Excellent proxy bases. Lots of units flowing out for Moggers at the moment. Still no air factory, and this bomber... Oh, that was almost an air factory. Talk about strategic timing. I think that is the original bomber, actually. It is up to 6 kills. We'll check it when it comes back from off mapping. That was a little bit of a fail passing over all that, but hey, if he loops around, he should be able to get some awesome kills with that. So 6 kills, yes. That is the original bomber. Still doing good damage. That's the terrible thing about Aeon units, is they all die in one hit to any of the bombers or any of the mobile artillery. It's kind of sad how flimsy they truly are, and if you're going to give up the air wholesale, your T1 phase is pretty much royally screwed. We do have a very aggressive air build now, though. He's got a ton of engineers assisting that to the point of brutal power stall, which is going to really put a damper on his project here. He is building a Tech 2 radar system, which is going to further power stall this mess. Good lord, friend, why are you doing this to yourself? That's going to consume 250 power that you do not have. Thankfully, Green Nymph is going to do you a favor and eliminate that thing, saving your butt from further power shenanigans. Oh, man. Yeah, there went all the engineers. I can say this, Moggers does not do things half-assedly. He's got all of his engineers on whatever he's doing. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I can say this, he has a stronger commander, although that is about to be a gun comm, which is going to really mess with him. He did win air right there, got rid of the bombers, and he's got 5 interceptors, but with the mobile anti-air, those are easily going to win as long as he doesn't really badly screw up the micro. And, ooh, talk about a close run by. If there would have been a scout right there, that would have never happened. And now we have the clash. There's an Oblivion turret going down. The gun upgrade has been abandoned, and this is not going to go well for Green Nymph. That Oblivion turret right at the front of his base is going to force him back up onto his plateau, and that I think that Oblivion is actually positioned well enough that he will be able to fire up the hill. So he's going to be able to hit stuff coming down right here. If it was closer, the hill would get in the way, but he's far enough back that the arch on that projectile will get him over the top. Arc. The arc on that projectile. Right in the face. Full frontal obsidian fire. That is not what you want to have hitting your ACU, because that is a lot of damage. 6,000 health, approaching 50% HP, taking artillery fire as well. Green Nymph needs to get the hell out of Dodge while he still has a nuclear reactor contained within his shell. A little bit of damage going down on that. Unfortunately, an overcharge short of actually killing it. 1,500 health, you need to dodge, friend. 900, one shell. Oh, that was weird targeting. 800 health, 200. No, don't. Okay, 200 health. That was hairy. There's a second Oblivion going down, and the ACU is reclaiming a fair bit to get that thing built. I do believe Moggers, yes, still on 20-ish mass income, has totally lost all of the expansion opportunities. He's pretty much going to have to feed himself with reclaim, and here comes the horde of Mantis in his base. I say horde, that was deceptive. There are a total of 6 units coming in, and now they are 5. A little bit of hell will be raised, but not too terribly much. And now they are all going to die. On the south side, looks like that point difference creep is going to get pushed up a little bit. Green Nymph trying to get another factory down to shore up this spam that he's got going. This is a prime example of too much eco, too little build power. Not enough units. Instead of that second T2 mechs, if he'd had 2 factories pumping Mantis, this mess never would have happened. I don't think that first Oblivion turret would have gotten established if there had been just a few more T1 units on the field. And now we've got Oblivion turrets practically inside the base. Mogger's laying that down. Not in range of the factories quite yet, but his next one will be. But that is definitely going to put a damper on any units struggling to get out of the production facilities. Looks like on the north side, we do have a nice little clump of Mantis. Green Nymph still taking the opportunity to hammer away at a couple of mass extractors. You know Green Nymph doesn't have very many of them, so any that he can take out is going to drastically impact what is left of this economy, and this is actually not good at all. There are barely any units left. They're straggling out of the base because of the bottlenecked mass due to that ACU building T2 point defense. These Mantis are going to hit the base and hit it hard. There is nothing left here to defend. Pretty much the only thing you can do in this kind of situation is abandon any building that you're doing on the front and lay down T1 point defense with all of the engineers that you have in your base, but that is not exactly what's happening. Going to assist the T1 factory. Actually, that looks like a ground assist just to get everything on factories as quickly as possible to get some T1 tanks out. And now the Mantis are everywhere. There's the point defense, but if those Mantis get folks fired on the engineers, that thing is never going to get built. Was that a Medusa shell I saw? I do believe it was. No, it was not. That was 100% Mantis. Definitely going to get rid of all those engineers in plenty of time. However, Moggers has officially claimed the base. There are only 2 factories left. He has overwhelming force at his disposal to wipe everything out, and now he is reclaiming. I was about to say like his life depends on it, but it actually does completely depend on it. Green Nymph, lots of T2 mechs up in the north side. He is going to start having power problems soon, though, I think, because once all of this goes away, that's the majority of his T1 power, so he really needs to be building power right now. All over the place. He's capping mexes, not thinking about power production. And this is the time to diversify your resources. Spread out your investments over many locations, because if you're building power down here and over here and up there, it's really hard for your enemy to knock out all of your power in one fell swoop, which is pretty much what we're going to see happen right there. think we're going to be left with a grand total of about 200-ish power income, which is way under what is necessary to run everything going on that Green Nymph has. That was an oddly constructed sentence, but I think you know what I mean. Red still suffering from mass deprivation, and all of these T1 units that are streaming into position here, I think Red is about to lose the entirety of his base. It's not going to be pretty one way or the other. There goes the mass storage and the final factory that was holding sway over this territory. Mogger's throwing down a T2 radar again on 500 power income. I really don't understand, man. You're not power stalling at the moment, but why are you doing this to yourself? Also, same thing, need to diversify the power, because you can see all of these units coming in. Definitely, well, maybe you can't see them. Definitely need to be building power on the south side, just in case you lose that base up there. I don't think there's really any intel being gathered by either player at this point. There is an air scout there, which is looping. Actually, I say that, and I do not know of what I speak. Moggers has actually looped that scout all the way around, so he does have a good picture. Let's see what Green Nymph has scouted. Enough. Not recently, but enough. Okay, Mantis moving into the base. One thing to remember, once these guys get into melee range, the T1 on the Aeon side stands 0 chance. The artillery can only hit one unit at a time because it basically has no area of effect. The Auroras have half the health of the Mantis with about the same damage, so obviously they're going to lose in a close proximity fight. Range is the only thing that they have going for them, and when you have Mantis in your base as an Aeon player, that's pretty much it for you. You are doomed. Doomed, I say. So, T1 transports kind of hovering around, not sure what those are for. Not really accomplishing too terribly much. Let's go ahead and bump up the dial here just a little bit. We're basically going to watch the colors shift. We've got the red base going down on this corner and being reconstructed here, down to 340 power income and about to lose his main power bank. Build, friend, build. Power, not factories, not reclaiming mass. You have a limited window in which to reestablish your power grid, and you need to move now. Aurora's moving up in the north base. That is going to be interesting because there's basically nothing defending up there. And here comes the swarming of the power grid. Red throwing down a factory there. Maybe he'll get the Hydro up before he stalls out to 20. We'll have to just watch the little indicator up in the corner, and there's a T2 PGen. No! That was the vast majority of Green Nymph's power supply, down to 240 per tick, and now he's going to lose that entire base. Oh, it hurts to watch. This is probably what you guys feel like watching my streams when I power stall. Although, I don't think I've done anything quite that bad recently. So, I don't know. I think we all get hit by a little power stall sometime. So, Moggers is down to 20 per tick. Struggling to build that Hydro. You know what? Just build the Hydro. Not even going to worry about T1 PGens. That's totally fine. Abandon all this, though. Don't build 2 power generators at the same time. Commit to 1. Don't split your income. Finish the Hydro, then do this. Don't. Why? Why you do this? Well. I'll have to learn the hard way. This is nice, though. Blue is losing the entirety of this base. He does have 2 rhinos up here in the north side. That will allow him to deny this with a little bit of strategic kiting, and he pretty much owns the entirety of the rest of the map. As long as he doesn't wander into range of the Oblivion turrets, he will be completely and totally fine. Power is definitely a problem for him as well, though. He is now down to 20 income. So, pause all this. Get rid of all your construction projects. Stop building the point defense. Just stop and power. This is also the point in time where if you have any extra engineers, which he does have a couple, not very many, but he does have a couple, you can start reclaiming the trees because that will feed you a slow source of power income. Instead of having 3 engineers building the PGen, let's take a look at how much he stalled there. 283. Have like 2 building and 1 manually reclaiming clumps of trees. It'll work out way better for you, I guarantee you. You even have all these Mantis. That's free build power. Have 1 engineer managing the build queue and 3 reclaiming. it would work beautifully, I guarantee you. So all of this artillery is going to take out the last left side expansion of blue. He does still hold these 3 up here, but yeah, he does have a unit advantage as well, actually. Way more T1 forces. As ACU is building up T1 P-Gens as fast as he can possibly go. We're already up to 500 power per tick, putting him 400 overflow. And now we're the exact opposite direction. Too much power, not enough mass. Although, if he does start reclaiming again, that will be a self-solving problem. Okay, Aurora's moving to the south. This is still salvageable for either player. Neither one of them has really established their foothold on the map. And this could be decided in one furious clash of units, depending on which way this goes. It looks like blue is intent on reclaiming his base. The problem is all of these Oblivion turrets. The radar is definitely... Nope, it is turned off. Oh, goodness gracious alive. That is going to lose a lot of firing time. Mantis now swarming in. You don't want to clump up your Mantis versus Oblivions because they do have a fairly decent area of effect, but that many Mantis versus 4 Oblivion turrets is definitely going to win. The Aurora is moving up, trying to put a stop to some of that, but it is going to be too little, too late. ACU moving up towards the base. Blue is going to reclaim what's his. Going to take that base back in a flurry of Mantis legs. So we got a T2 Mex upgrade? What? Was that off the reclaim? Probably off the reclaim. Yes, he is reclaiming. Okay, so trying to reestablish his mass income, I guess. It's an interesting choice. I guess you can centralize your economy. And there's the infamous T2 radar once again. He does have a T2 P-Gen as well, so 800 power income, huge number considering what we've seen for the last few minutes here. And now he is getting the T2 point defense online, so he's going to lock down this position, no problem whatsoever. And that is going to give him a little bit of a stronghold from which to assault Blue's base. Blue is now pretty dang far behind on economy. He is pulling 280 power per tick and about 25 mass, but that is also accounting for reclaim. Got all of this up here to thank for actually having something to rebuild from. Does have a T2 mass extractor down there as well. Okay, so the players now have their designated areas that they can spread out from. Red, I think, is in a decidedly better position here. He's got near quadruple. Actually, that is more like triple. Yes, that is almost exactly triple the power income. Brink cannot maths, and similar, if not slightly superior mass numbers. So Blue is going to have to build his way out of this situation. He only has a T1 unupgraded commander, so versus a T2 Aeon Com, not the absolute worst situation you could be in, but definitely a disadvantage. And engineers a building. All right, well, I think we're in for a little bit of a waiting period. Let's go ahead and bump up the speed one more time and just see what happens. Got an idle engineer here that could do hydro and factories up this way, which would give him access to all of this reclaim, which would be an awesome thing to grab. Actually, if he had the power income to drop a T2 commander, he could use all of that mass to build some very interesting things. And if he did have power up, he could actually get a tac launcher online, which could snipe that T2 power and dump Moggers back into the same situation that Blue is in, but that would require a little bit of an investment. He is getting out plenty of engineers reclaiming trees, though, which is good. All well and good, but but I think he is going to lose that expansion once more. Not enough defensive weaponry. Artillery moving in, and right into reach of point defense, I think. Yes. Both the artilleries got shot down, which leaves only Auroras, which is not a good thing to have versus T1 point defense. I spy a T2 support factory. There's the HQ. Building some Vipers to send... Excuse me, my voice is catching something awful. Building some Vipers to send over to the left side. That is going to let him... Well, that's going to give him a weapon against T2 point defense. The Oblivions will stand 0 chance whatsoever versus a horde of Vipers. So that's going to let him overrun Mogger's position pretty dang easily. Pardon me, folks. Not sure why my voice is so rough today. Alright. The clash has finally arrived. I was about to speculate on why on earth he's building Blaze, but I guess that gives him the ability to pull his units back and forth across the water. However, Blazes do not exactly fare that well versus this amount of units. You also want to be moving your T2 units around so that they're not absorbing Medusa Fire, because that will stun them and do a substantial amount of damage at the same time. So that is good, though. He is fronting with his commander, landing a couple of strategic overcharges, and all in all making himself a pain in the butt for Green Nymph. Not sure why Green Nymph ran all of his units directly into the base when you could stand off with your Vipers and fire at the base from range and not lose any of them, or not lose many of them. 27 stall on red for having a whopping 5 T2 factories trying to build at the same time, along with all of these factories up north. He bit into Reclaim again, which is going to float his mass numbers up into a reasonable area, but still, that is a lot of factories to have for the amount of mechs at his disposal. The OP Obsidians moving into position. It's not something you want to have your ACU directly next to, but you can see the Medusas firing here, keeping those units stunned. If he could land an overcharge, that would work wonders for what's going on here. Does he have access to overcharge? He does not. No energy storage. Definitely needs to get that online. He's overflowing 500 power per tick, which is more than enough to maintain overcharges at a pretty brutal rate. Corsairs, where did that come from? Right back here, T2HQ with a bunch of assistance on it. That would be all the power overflow there. T2 Gens giving him the ability to pump out Corsairs at a pretty aggressive rate. Already 3 on the field. There's a mobile flak and a shield. Some dodging and mobile flak and shields to the commander, and this is totally survivable. I still think Moggers is in every bit as good of a situation as Green Nymph is. Green Nymph has started to develop some of this area, but they are exactly even on mass income and power income. And if Red can secure this base once again, as long as he gets his ACU back a little bit so that he doesn't lose it, he'll get the reclaim advantage with a fully developed eco, and I think he could actually pull a win out here, but this is looking more and more doubtful as time goes on. Why are you soaking so much damage with your commander? When you're taking Corsair fire, always position your shield to the side that the Corsairs are coming from as best as you can, and the flag just away from your commander so that it doesn't die in the area of effect of the bombers. And then you need to dance in circles with your ACU so that you take as little fire as possible. You can see the flak has succeeded in dropping a couple of Corsairs. There's a veterancy for the commander. 6,000 HP, things looking up just a little bit. If he can keep those, nope. Corsairs are now going after the, well, that one flak died to Vipers because it was not moving. That one is about to die as well. Another Corsair going down, and, oh, that was close. No. 1,800 health, and the Corsairs continue to stream in. If you would have just pulled your commander back a little bit, this would not have happened. And there's the explosion. Goodness gracious, that was dancing around the outcome for an extended period of time. Look at Red. Look at all of this land that he has. If he'd hung on with his commander, pulled back, laid down some anti-air with the rear engineers, kept those mobile shields close to his ACU, I think that was completely and totally survivable. And then he could have just swarmed this base with his superior land forces. Once he had flak mixed in with his army, he could have easily proceeded on all this. Corsairs, gunships wouldn't matter at T2. You can't throw anything that mobile flak can't take care of easily. And I think Red, with all the T2 factories, yes, it was a drag on his economy, but all of this reclaim that he's getting could have absolutely pummeled Green Nymph. But that is just a highly unfortunate forward ACU loss. Ugh. But the base trades are cool. Complete and total base trade, and then Blue regaining his and losing it again. Nice game. Very well done, both players. Hopefully you can learn something from this replay. Alrighty. that is going to wrap it up for what I've got going on here. Again, do not forget to, number one, send me any replays that you have that are of good games. And number two, send me your Fire Beetle replays if you succeeded in killing an ACU or an incredibly important target. It doesn't have to be a commander. If you just kill something cool with a Fire Beetle, send it over to me with a little bit of a timestamp. Just let me know where in the replay it took place. I would be highly, highly appreciative. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.